All right, I'm getting ready. Greetings, greetings, family. We are live. Sister Shanice in the house. Welcome, welcome. It is Wednesday, and you know how it goes on a Wednesday evening. It's about the Sister Shanice show. And as always, I have a wonderful, wonderful guest. For you this evening. He is someone who has a phenomenal amount of experience, well-rounded experience. His name is Nubian Jak, and if you've not heard the name, you have now. And if you don't know what he's all about, you're going to be finding out this evening. Our brother, I don't know where he gets the energy from, because when you hear his resume, when you hear all of what he has been doing, yeah, as an artist, as a historian, as someone who makes game boards, it is phenomenal. He is an award-winning artist, entertainer, all rounder. So just waiting for you to come through the door so that I can bring him on for you. He is already backstage. So the good news is our brother is here ready and waiting to take it away. So thank you so much, first of all, for joining me this evening for the Sister Shanice show. I'm absolutely honored to have your presence and to have you be part of today's show. If you're not already a subscriber to the Sister Shanice show, what are you waiting for? Please do subscribe. And as you come through the door, please do give us a thumbs up as well. So absolutely delighted as always, family. And I've got his CV here, and I'm going to be sharing with you in a little while what our brother Nubian Jak is all about. So spread the word, let everybody know that we are live and rearing to go. Because we've got a lot that we're going to be going through today. I've seen the presentation, it's going to be absolutely amazing. And as always, you know, the Sister Shanice shows are insightful, they're informative. They bring you a wealth of knowledge and information. And yeah, sometimes we have a little bit of controversy going on, but that's all good. But we're always here for our people. We're always here to elevate, to lift up, to inspire, to motivate. We're always here doing the best we can to bring you some really interesting guests. And we've done it again for you tonight. And those of you who are regular followers of the Sister Shanice show, you know that we bring historians, realists, we bring, who else do we have as features guests? Archaeologists, linguists, geologists, culturalists, historians, I said that one, liberationists, you know, Pan-Africanists. We have them all on this platform because that's what we're about. We're about showcasing the great work that members of our community are doing out there. And we are also very much about ensuring that, you know, we correct the false narrative and the false histories that we have been taught as a people. I'm actually doing a survey on that at the moment as it goes, and I just need one more person to fill in my questionnaire, but 99 of you have filled in my questionnaire, and my aim is to get 100. So I just need one more person to fill in that questionnaire, and I think by tonight I'll definitely have that, so I'll be drawing a line underneath it. And I'm asking those who do the questionnaires, tell me about your experience of learning African history in either school, college, or university. And so far, I can share with you that the vast majority of us have learned almost nothing at all whatsoever about our history. And it's a real tragedy. It really is, because those of you who've read Carter G. Woodson, you will know what the importance is of our history, because he makes it clear that, you know, if you don't have knowledge of your history, then you really, you know, have no idea what you are able and capable of. And so, family, we have got to make sure that we do our best to bring you as much information about our history as possible. And the guest that I have for you today, he's been doing a phenomenal amount of works in that area as well. But I'm going to bring him on now, and we're going to, first of all, I think, go on a little bit of a journey with him, and a little bit of a journey on the career that he had as an artist. And then, you know, we're going to be moving that journey on. So let me bring our guest who is waiting backstage, none other than Nubian Jak, onto the platform. Greetings, greetings,
Hi.
my brother.
Greetings, my sister. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. And yourself?
Very well. You're a lovely sister. You've got really good energy. Very, very,
Thank
very
you.
honored to be on your platform, sis. It's a pleasure, and I'm so honored to have been invited. Thank you. I love
Thank
the work that you
you.
do, and from my heart, you're a blessed sister, and anything I could do to support you. And we've had our little technical stuff. We won't let the people them know wagwan and backstage, but everything's just and blessed and all lovely.
Everything, Chris, right now. You know, we've
Yeah.
got you in the chair. We're going to be learning so much about you. Actually, we're so privileged and honored as well to have you on this platform, my
Thank
brother.
you.
I've been watching your works, phenomenal, phenomenal works, and we're going to be learning so much
Sure.
today. So I'm really excited to
Okay.
have you on this platform. So the
Fantastic.
family is coming through the door right now, but for
Okay.
those who are going to be watching on replay, we don't want to long out, you know, the intro too long.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure.
so
Yeah.
we are going to go straight into finding out a bit about you, my brother, Nubian Jak.
What
So
would you
first
like
of
to
all,
know?
family, what I do know is that our brother Nubian Jak is also a British artist and an entrepreneur. But first of all, I wonder if you could tell us a bit about your life as an artist.
Okay, so artist has many hats. So
Mm.
there's the artist, as in the scribbler and doodler, and there's the artist as the performer, and there's the artist as the sculpturist. I'm assuming you're talking about the musical side. So yes, yes. So Shanice, in essence, that's the real me. I'm truly um, a musician or a muso inside, and all of my creativity stems from that itch in wanting to create something esoterically ethereal, not just in 3D, which is art, but in the ethereal, which is music. And music is a wonderful way to express the unexpressionable. And
Mhm.
that's where I'm most comfortable in. So, what can I tell you? I was been in several boy bands. We wanted to play some clips, didn't we? But we didn't want YouTube to try and embargo the videos that I own, right?
So
So
what
we
we're going
decided.
to do, I'm going to put up right now the link, family, to the clip that our brother wanted to show you. And I gather you had dreadlocks back then, eh?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I used to have. Yeah, I am still a Rastafari at heart, sis. That must be said. But when I was
Yeah.
younger, I decided to have natty, as we would say, for like 10 years. And part of my young youth, I was performing, and I still had my dreadlocks, so that was a lot of fun as
Oh,
well.
wow. Yeah,
Music
yeah.
I did. The music I was managed by a man called Don Taylor. He's
Hmm.
managed Marvin Gaye, Bob Marley,
Oh,
and
oh,
Jazzy B. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So he managed
oh.
myself and another Rastafari brother, or he was a dreadlock brother, um, and we were called This Medusa. And
Oh,
the music we did, as the listeners will see, was rock. We did reggae rock. You understand? Yeah, yeah.
okay.
So we were always flipping the zeitgeist, and we really liked the fact that they couldn't label us. But the trouble with that was Don couldn't get us a record deal either. Don Taylor couldn't
Oh,
get us. Oh, no, I shouldn't say couldn't. We gave him a period of time, and within that time, we did some recordings of Jazzy. That's how I got to know Jazzy as well. And we
yeah.
decided
Big up
that,
Jazzy B.
yeah, big up
Yeah.
Jazzy, mate.
Another
Bereford Romeo, big
phenomenal
man.
artist in the British community.
Awesome. The
Yeah.
Godfather. He truly is a
Ah, for
rude,
real.
fantastic. I love Jazzy SB. But anyway, we weren't able to get the we didn't have, personally, I didn't have enough patience to pursue the medium and the genre. So I left, and I did a little bit of modeling, and went into
Mhm.
social work, and
Ah.
and that's where the next phase of the story begins.
Okay. So, but did you have, at least a successful track? I mean, is there maybe a tune that most of us might know, or some of us might
So
have heard?
you wouldn't, but my most successful track was a track called Remember, um, by when I was in a band called Stigma. It was actually Stigma. I left Stigma, believe it or not, and I got us recording in Abbey Road Studios, and um, that's another long story. Basically, one of my band members was on drugs, so we decided to disband the band. And the other Rastafari brother, which is JP, and I left to form a new band called This Medusa, which was a lot of fun. But our most famous song was called Remember by Stigma, and that was early 80s, and that was a lot of fun. That's when I first was wide-eyed about the music industry and love it. And that was actually quite reggae, actually. John Peel's record of the week. And it actually, real talk, it got to about 98, 99 in the, yeah, it was really high up in the, well, not high up in the charts, but it made inways,
Yeah.
That's a long time ago. Yeah, lots has happened since then.
Yes, there certainly has been. And any advice before we move on from there to maybe those young people who are, dreamy-eyed like you were back in the
Yeah,
day about
yeah,
getting in the music industry? I know a lot has changed since
yeah,
then as well,
yeah.
with the technologies and that. But, if you were to turn back the clock, maybe what would you have done differently that
Right. So
might
tell
have
you the truth, if I was to turn, me personally, if I was to turn back the clock, I wouldn't have done reggae rock
Mm.
because we were trying to be commercial. We were the real Vinnie Manilli because there was a band called Vinnie Manilli who had Faults Here, and we thought we're going to show them how to do the thing proper, and we were probably a bit too radical in terms of spirits as personalities as well, which I've never lost. But if I was to tell anybody anything, do it yourself, stay true to yourself, don't rely on record companies because that ship has sailed. It's all now about you. Can you see me properly? Am I kind of going
Yeah,
off screen?
yeah, that's better. You're more centered
Right.
now. Yeah,
Yeah,
and if you
fantastic.
tip the camera a little bit as well, with you'll have less headroom, which will be great.
Perfect. Like
Yeah,
so.
yeah. So we can see more of you.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get it.
Yeah,
One. Is that better?
yeah. That's
You
much
sure?
better. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Perfect.
Uh,
So go for your
Stay
dreams,
true
follow
to
your
yourself. You were
stay
saying.
true to
I
yourself,
absolutely agree with that.
and then if it doesn't work out, at least you've done something which was real and
Yeah.
authentic with me.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
I could look back on our musical career and say, well, we was doing reggae rock. You
Hmm,
understand?
hmm.
And so uh,
So would you have
uh,
just done reggae full stop if
full
you
stop. But here's the
yeah,
thing, right?
yeah.
I never was gonna do just reggae because I'm creative. So I
Uh,
always wanted to do reggae jazz,
yeah,
reggae rock,
yeah,
reggae
yeah,
pop. Yeah,
yeah.
that was that. I still am that brother. I'm still,
Yeah, you might have created a new genre, huh?
who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, yeah. But I like that advice. Stay true to yourself. That's so
Stay
important
true.
because sometimes we try and change, don't we, just to fit in
Exactly.
or to make that break or to, be popular. But no,
Yeah.
that isn't where it's at really. It's
Correct.
in the
Absolutely.
authenticity. There comes the
It is
longevity as
authentic.
well.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Perfect.
thank you for sharing that wonderful story. And
Yeah.
so you had that experience in the music industry, and you got a lot further down the road still than a lot of
Yeah.
artists do. So high five to you for that. But you were also a
Thank you.
songwriter, and
Yes.
so you were writing
Well,
your own
I
songs.
was I was the main songwriter in the group, to be
A
fair. So
musician.
yes. Say it again.
So what? A musician? What
I mean,
instruments did you
yes,
play?
yes. So I compose on the keyboard. I've got my
Ah,
keyboard. My missus, it's actually there behind over there. I'm
yeah.
tempted to do a couple of chords, but I won't. And I'm teasing, but
Oh, go
I haven't
ahead.
played it for a while. I haven't played it for a while, so that'll be my excuse. Hence the videos. I
Oh.
wanted to hide behind the videos. But yeah. So I play a bit of drums and I play a bit of the guitars as well. The bass and the guitar. But my main instrument is the keyboards, and that's where I compose on. And
Oh,
here's the thing, Miss Shanice, beautiful Shanice sister.
good.
All my friends who knows me before this Nubian Jak journey, and then I'm his bubbler, right? And I used to play the piano in school, and everybody thought who knows me as bubbler thought I was going to make, I was going to make it as an artist. So, like I said, that's quintessential. When I was a child, sis, and I'm still a child at heart, but when I was a child, I used to have a dream, a recurring dream. And this is why I know that itch hasn't been scratched yet, right? I used to have this recurring dream that I was in a room, and I'm talking 6, 7, 8, those years, right? So it's a recurring dream. And this room was a massive white room. And in one corner of the room, I'm playing the piano. And the other corner of the room is the world. This is a dream. I had no meaning, but I kept dreaming the same thing all the time. I'm playing to the world. So obviously, I grew up with the concept that I'm going to be a star. Hello, I'm going to be the next Stevie Wonder. And my friends used to, because I used to impersonate, isn't she lovely, and all of that. But alas, Allah and Jah and the ancestors had a different plan for me.
Yeah. Oh wow! But
Sadly,
you know that you're still young, so there is still time for you to fulfill that dream. And who knows, a few keys on the keyboard could be what does it. So with that keyboard out, let me put you backstage while you grab that keyboard. Yeah,
I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, go on. Family in the chat. Let me go over to the chat. Do you want to hear our brother on the keyboard? Do you want to hear? Okay, Nafi is saying greetings, sis. Mr. IC3 Black, he's bigging us up in the house as well. He's bigging you up, Nubian Jak. Lily is saying Hotep, and IC3 saying, yeah, Nubian Jak. The Blue Plaques, that's right. Rise up, Sister Afrijamo, sending greetings to us all the way from Ghana. Lovely to have you in the house, Sister Afrijamo. So, family, those of you who are watching, please do drop a message in the chat. Let us know where you're watching us from, and let us know if you'd like to hear our brother Nubian Jak. Maybe give us a few keys on the keyboard. Maybe if enough of us say, yeah, go on, he might do so.
I might. Maybe if enough of you, yeah, absolutely. It's only because I haven't practiced for a while. I mean, I could do it. I can,
So Nafi's saying, yeah, give us some vibes. Yes, the requests have started coming in already. So let's give you a little while to just think about it. Lily's like, yeah, we want to hear as well. So yes, our brother, he was an artist, he's a songwriter, musician, as you heard, he plays several instruments. He mentions he did a bit of modeling as well, and then went into social work. But you also became quite well known, didn't you, for your award-winning board game series, Nubian Jak. I mean, I've even got that somewhere here as well. So for those who don't know about your Nubian Jak board game, I wonder if you wouldn't mind just sharing a bit.
Tell them a little bit. Okay, so part of that's a part of the presentation. I could kind of go into that maybe if you felt.
The presentation?
Yeah, I could. Or not necessarily. If you don't want, I mean, I could still tell them.
Whenever you're ready, you let me know.
I think we should go into it because then it's all part, instead of repeating the whole thing in the presentation. Let me tell them the journey of Johnny Alexander Babula Dodd.
Let's do that. Okay. So, all righty, my brother. I wonder if I can get this full screen with and still see behind the screen.
Perfect. Yeah. So we're going to call it The House that Jack Built.
All right.
And we're going to tell them the story of how a young man from West London had an idea which outgrew his love of music and took him on a trajectory that ended up with him being named one of the great Black Britain, one of the 100 great Black Britons, which is obviously completely absurd, but also getting a doctorate.
Wow.
And the next slide should show you that I got an honorary doctorate from the School of Theology, Management and Leadership. I got that 4 years ago. This is me and Patty Boulay. We're being made. You know, the mafia say when you're being made, we're being made there. And the next slide will show you the awards that I've had since 2018. So I received Fellow of the Most Excellent Order of International Experts, Christian Fellowship Group in the United States. I won a few Lifetime Achievement Awards. My most recent award was this year, from the Drum Award.
Oh,
And,
wow.
uh, and this is for the plaque scheme. And a couple of years ago, as I said, I was acknowledged, erroneously, of course, as being one of the great Black Britons. So we go into the next slide, and I'm going to show you how we
Thanks.
began this journey.
Okay.
There is I and
Yeah.
I, me, moi, bottom right hand corner, with my fist showing what is to come. That was my band called Stigma.
Mm-hmm.
The brethren there, you can see me just beginning to locks up there. Actually, can you see that?
Yeah, yeah.
Little locks is there, and the brother above me is JP. He would be my musical brethren, Idrin, as we spent 10 years together in the industry. That's at Abbey Road Studios.
Okay.
And the other dude to
And that's
JP's
a
left.
famous studio as well, isn't
Yeah,
it? Made
yeah,
famous.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It's a
that
well-known
is.
studio. Mm-hmm.
The dude to the left of JP is my friend called Frank, who's an Irish brother. Funny enough, his mother taught me about Mary Seacole, but I'll
Oh,
leave that
wow.
maybe later. And the other white dude on the piano, he and I were the main songwriters in the group. So that's Pete, lovely man, married a Thai lady, is in Thailand. I actually saw him. He came over here last couple of months, actually, in the summer, and we were hanging out for a bit. He's got a bit less here now, obviously. Um,
Yeah.
Lovely, beautiful man, good man. And so that was the band that started it all.
Okay.
So after doing that for a while, as you heard, next slide, JP and I left because Frank, the guy I showed you, who was my school friend, had a drug problem. And Abbey Road found out, and the band itself was compromised. So I left, and JP followed me. And you can see him and I there on stage there in As This Medusa, which was the outfit that Don Taylor managed. I would have loved you to have seen the video. The video, maybe some people have seen it already now,
Yeah.
but you'll see me, busting some moves, man, on stage, seriously, winding up on
Oh, we'll have to watch that after.
yeah. Trying to compensate for my voice, but it was all good. We were really, really an entertaining outfit. So the next slide. So basically, okay, so this is when I got into modeling. I was the face of Flora for practically 4 years, actually, 3.5, 4 years. The lady on the right, I don't know if you can recognize the lady on the right. She's Sally Gunnell. Do you remember Sally Gunnell? She used to be a sprinter. Okay, she's an Olympic sprinter, gold medalist. Yeah, bad gal still. She was quite good. I think she's 400-meter hurdles. And she and I, began the campaign in 1992. And like I said, 4 years later, I was still going. And mine went around the world. As I got older, I'm kind of like, last night I was all wrong. Today she thinks I'm all right. So I could buy her off with some flowers. If only that were true. But yeah, it became a very famous ad. And as a brother with dreadlocks, modeling flowers for Interflora, that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's cutting edge stuff, wasn't it? For mainstream.
Kind of. And it ran and ran and ran. I mean, even Richard Branson used it actually for a campaign for new businesses. Another little interesting synergy there. Anyway, we move on. So from that money, sis, which is very important. So I gave up the music industry and I started to train as a social worker. All right. And they gave me a lot of inner city youths, black youths, poor white kids, and all the rest of it. Ankles down to their trousers down to their ankles and so forth and so on. And I thought, you know what? We need to do something that gives you different role models. And so I thought, why don't we? So I used to do quizzes with them. Yeah. And then I thought, you know what? Why don't we do a board game called Union Black? And I thought, yeah, we're going to do a game called Union Black, right? And so with the money, this is where the modeling thing comes, because while I was working, I also earned a little bit more money doing the modeling thing. And I came up with this concept to do this board game. The modeling partly funded it, but I couldn't get the name. I couldn't get the name Union Black. So I've told this many times, so I don't want to keep repeating the same thing. When people go on, they see the same old story. Cut to the chase. I called it Nubian Jak, right? Because if I can't call it Union Black, I'm going to call it Black Jak. And it was based on the Union Jack. You can see the cover of the game. I flipped the Union Jack, made it red, yellow, and green. And the first game was all about Black people in Britain, African people in Britain and Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And the next phase of my life began because I did a campaign of Choice FM, Sister Shanice,
Right.
and I did a campaign in Christmas '94.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just all about this board game, Nubian Jak. You're probably too young to remember this, right?
No, not at all. No, I
Oh, do
remember
you
it.
remember? Do you
Yeah,
remember
I sure I got one. Yeah, at the
what the original
time.
version? Have you got the original version
I
there?
think I might have. Not here right now, but yeah.
So here's the thing. If you've got that version, I'm going to tell you a story. We only produced 1,000 version of those. So if you actually have that, you have got something that the Americans will give you a 4, and depending on how good it is, a 5-figure sum. That's a fact.
Oh wow. Oh,
Go on
better
stores.
dig
What's it
that
called?
out.
Something stores, Google stores, and you'll see a board game being sold for a high 4-figure sum in America a few
Wow.
years ago. That version.
Mm-hmm.
We outsold Trivial Pursuit and Monopoly, and the birth of
Wow.
it heralded the birth of a phenomenon.
Wow. Well done. Well done. I hope the people watching are feeling inspired because some of you may have an idea for a board game and maybe never thought about doing it, but hopefully this is going to change your mind. Well
Who
done. Well
knows?
done. Shall I go to the
Well, go
next
to the next slide, and I'll show you that actually. Oh yeah, we can't do it.
one?
You've got me there. But anyway, I did 5 more versions after that. All right, so we sold
Mhm.
120,000 copies. Sis. The thing became a
Wow.
phenomenon, right? And what really made it interesting is
Yeah.
because the family, the community, was saying
Yeah.
there's a new board game out there, and it's
Mhm.
talking about 2 Black Queens of England, and it's
Yeah.
flipping it with Michael Jackson and Marcus
Yeah.
Garvey. You guys
Mhm.
need to get this game, and they'd
Yeah.
get it for the family, and then they would discover some cards,
Yeah.
and they would learn that in 1959,
Mhm.
a man born in Sierra Leone came to Cambridge University and
Mhm.
discovered the human structure of insulin. And he came up
Oh.
with the cure in 1959
Mhm.
that treats diabetes sufferers all around the world.
Wow.
Brother from
Mhm.
Cambridge. Now, guess
Mhm.
what?
Mm.
Get our family to Google it. His name is Davidson Nicol. Family, I beg you no. Why don't you Google it and come back to us with it?
Oh,
Tell us who he
uh-huh.
is.
Uh-huh.
And that's what my board game did.
Yeah.
It was called The Truthford Proof. No, The Truthford Proof was the book. The board game started putting in a absorbable chunk size fashion, Black
Mhm.
history,
Yes.
isn't it? So when we started saying there's 2 Black Queens of England, people were
Yeah.
like, no, what? We know about Queen Charlotte. I'd be
Yeah.
like, yo, fam, there was one before her. And you
Uh-huh.
put it in a board
Uh-huh.
game and they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, this thing is dark, man. So that's it. And then we did 6 versions. And then next slide.
Mhm.
Jaja had more
Oh.
plans. Jaja had more plans, sis. You understand?
Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
happened was English heritage came knocking at the door.
Mhm.
That
Mhm.
old bastion of Blue Plaque's expertise said, Jack, we've heard about your board game. We want you to reach your community for us. It's insane, right? It's insane when you think about it. But this is in the mid noughties, isn't it? Mid 2004. They said there's 6 plaques to people of African heritage, and there's
Mhm.
9 plaques to people of Asian heritage,
Oh.
and we want you to make that information better known, more accessible.
Mhm.
So remember, you used the word in the beginning, artists. Remember that word,
Mhm.
artists. So I created a treasure trail,
Yeah.
as you do, right? And I
Yeah.
created a treasure trail of the 15 plaques that was in the capital to Black and Asian people, African and Asian people, and then we launched it by doing the plaque to CLR James,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
that's what got me into Blue Plaque.
Wow. Do you want to tell us a little bit about CLR James for those
You
who may
mentioned
not know?
CLR James, the bad boy, Don Dada, man, wrote the Black
Hey.
Jacobin. He was a man from Trinidad. He was an intellectual, a giant of a man. Um, was able to deconstruct colonialism with a fantastic book, not just the Black Jacobins, which spoke about Toussaint Louverture and and I'm going to come on to as later as well, Christoph and so forth and so on. But he wrote a book about cricket actually, which explained the impact that colonialism had had on Trinidad and how we could use cricket to deconstruct colonialism, and the pioneers of West Indian cricket at the time who were leading the deconstruction of the myth of just being batters, but the whole psychological and artistry of that boring game called cricket. Anyway, that's what he did. And he was an amazing man. And he lived in Shakespeare Road, how ironic for an artist, yeah, in Brixton. And here's the beautiful synergy. The first plaque I did this year, I placed a plaque. I'm going to come onto that right next to CLR James. It was to Dark as How. And it was the first plaque I did this year. And Dark as How was CLR James's nephew.
Really?
So, yeah. And he was another rude boy as well. I mean, people may misunderstand Darkus because, there are people in our community who are very interesting. They're very intellectually athletic, which is what I would say Darkus was. But he also played, pardon the pun, the devil's advocate, right? So people kind of misunderstand that side of him, but he was just being mischievous. He was a brilliant man with a brilliant mind, and he became the 66th recipient of a Nubian Jak plaque. I've now done 76.
Wow.
So I'll tell you about the others later. But yeah, that was the first one we did to CLR James.
The CLR James, and I think he also knew Marcus Messiah Garvey as well, didn't he? And he was very close with from his name. I forget his name. Kwame Nkrumah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
You see what they were intellectual giants,
yeah,
of their time. And at that time, we had not yet achieved independence, or at least political independence. So there was an appetite.
They were at the forefront, weren't they, of advocating for it and strategizing and all phenomenal.
And so, there was a very important meeting, actually, 1945 Pan-African Congress in Manchester, which was probably the most important event which galvanized the later decolonization of Africa. It all stems from that coming together of minds and intellects, like this wonderful man here.
Awesome.
So going to the next slide. So what happened was, after being inspired by English heritage, I said to them, why don't you do a plaque to Bob Marley? You've got 7 plaques. Do Bob Marley. Bob Marley has dual heritage. Everybody got to love him. I didn't say in that accent. To Tracy Borman, Dr. Tracy Borman, the lady. I said everybody would love him. And she said, Jack, it's not very easy to put up a blue plaque. It's very bureaucratic. And if I were you, I would do it myself. Can you imagine? That was, I'm already got different chapters. I want to be a musician, right? And now, they're telling me to go and do plaques. So I thought, I'm going to do a plaque to Bob Marley because the synergy was there. We had the same manager and all the rest of it. But here's the thing, and this is why I've been put on this particular mission. We couldn't get an address for Bob Marley in Westminster. Everybody turned us down. Shanice, yeah? We got turned down in Bayswater. There's another place up in W2. He got turned down. He got so there was a bit of concern. We're talking mid-noughties. Things have accelerated in us, sis. Until it's done, it hasn't been done. I remember Dr. Ben said to me, not said to me personally, but Dr. Ben taught us that his dad said to him, the man who gave out the first degree, or the woman, what did they have?
Right.
You understand?
Yeah.
They had knowledge. They had the knowledge. Yeah, do you understand? And so me not knowing what my first plaque was going to be, I assumed it would be Bob. And all these no's just made me think, you know what? That ain't that we're gonna do Bob. But before we did that, Westminster Council, who were my partner on the Bob Marley quest, said, Jack, we can't get a plaque in Westminster. So we got an address from Mary C. Cole, which is George Street. Will you do that plaque with us? And we will pay you X amount of money, which I won't go into. So yeah. And I did my first plaque that I was involved with personally, because the CLR James plaque was just a treasure trail. This plaque I got involved with. I got Connie Mark there. I got Dame, the Dame who was head of the nurses, Dame, what's her name, man? Yeah, my book. My book. But anyway, I got the whole.
And then we'll come back to you. Yeah.
Yeah, I got the whole program. I could get the book and look her name later, but I got the whole program together.
Yeah.
And after delivering this historical plaque, I realized there was nothing on that plaque that suggested that I was involved.
Oh,
Take a look.
Oh, yes, you're
City
right.
of Westminster, Portman and Estate.
Yeah.
And that's when I said the next plaque is going to have a reference to Nubian Jak. Next slide, please.
Okay.
So this is my journey. This is the house at Jack built. So the next slide is we did the first plaque to Bob Marley. There it is. And I did it with that was the Mayor of London, and that's in Camden. And here, this is what I'm talking about. The mystics. When you do this thing for real, Shanice, sister.
Oh, sorry.
We can't play, you know. Are you hearing me, darling?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Don't play with the gods. Don't play with the ancestors. Do this thing for real. Yeah. And they had fired me up by telling me I can't do the Bob Marley plaque there. And I thought, yeah, you watch. So I became real into it. You understand?
Yeah.
And when I did this, I want you to listen to this. When I did this plaque, right, you can see it was sponsored by the Mayor of London. And they gave me a nice little change, you know, for doing it.
Yeah.
BBC came along.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It was October 2006, right? Where are we now? October 2022. This is 16 years later. We are now in the anniversary of the very first Nubian Jak plaque.
Okay.
This month here, right?
Wow. Yes.
I did it in 2006, and the BBC came along and said, Jack, we've heard about you doing a plaque. We'd like to come along and film. Would you allow us to? And I'm like, why do you want to film it? They said, well, next year is Bob Marley's anniversary, 30th anniversary of Exodus. And we'd like to film part of it for that anniversary. Sorry, the plaque fell, that thing fell down. It's all right.
Yeah.
So,
right. So it's 30th year anniversary, approached by the BBC.
I went to hear this.
When you're walking in purpose, when you're when you're walking in your purpose.
Let me finish the story, sister. I'm just going to speed up after this. Basically, they came along, they filmed it, and there was a lot of people there from Bob Marley's time in Ridgemount Gardens, and they filmed it, and they kept it for a year. And in October 2007, they showed it, and it went around the world. And they didn't. It was about Bob Marley's album Exodus, and every track they played, they showed a different clip to mine. So there's some people on this platform.
Wow, beautiful.
And that made Nubian Jak the Community Trust overnight this pioneering black plaque scheme. On one track, it went around the world.
Yeah. Wow.
And that wasn't planned, right? That wasn't planned. But see, I was ready. Anyway, let's go through the things now. That's the first plaque. The second plaque was put on a building. It was part of the abolition of the Slave Trade Act. It was put on a building in Luton. And the third one, and the third plaque.
Go down.
Yes.
Okay.
This is on the Foreign Office. It's the highest profile plaque in the United Kingdom. It is stone throw from Liz and Kwazi's yard there around the corner, right? Because this is the Foreign Office, and 10 Downing Street is next door. I can literally throw a stone, and I could dash a stone. Real talk this, and it will land up on Kwazi's roof there, and stuff. And this one was to the wonderful Ignatius Sancho, phenomenal man, abolitionist. He had his own shop. I could tell you, I could do a whole program on him alone.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let you start asking me questions now before I.
Oh, yeah, do go ahead. Tell us a bit about Ignatius Sancho, because there may well be people watching who've never heard of him before. So give us
Okay.
a synopsis of his story.
Okay. I hope they do know about this brother. He's very important. He was contemporaries of Iglado Equiano and Ottobah Cuguiano. They were abolitionists.
Mhm.
This man was a very interesting brother. Married a black woman, in the 18th century in
Big
England.
up, big up.
Yes, and big up our Masavar crew. Yeah, I did that one day. Right? And he was allowed to vote, Sister Shanice. When
Mhm.
man and man down the road there, when uh
Women weren't allowed to vote at that
Bob, yeah,
time, were they? Yeah.
Bob Smith, yeah, Bob Smith couldn't vote,
Mhm.
and then this black aristocratic youth could because he
Mhm.
owned land. That was the
Mhm.
voting. He was a land owner, and
Wow.
so therefore he was able to, cast his ballot. And
Mhm.
he was a man of letters, so he wrote very uh, eloquently, dressed wonderfully,
Mhm.
spoke eruditely, and was a musician as well.
Oh, mhm.
And played the harpsichord, wrote some wonderful tracks on the harpsichord, and he was altogether a symbol of the humanity of Africans. Wonderful
Wow.
man.
Yeah. And do we know or of any of his descendants? Were any of his descendants there to see,
At the, that,
their
yes.
ancestor?
No, they weren't
Okay.
at the Commonwealth uh,
Okay.
office unveiling.
Um,
Um, I don't know if there are any still alive. I would like to think they are and were and is. But
mhm.
at the unveiling, we went down another thread. So it was a beautiful thing, and it's just lovely to know that when you walk past the Foreign Office, you can look up and see a Nubian Jak plaque, and that was and that was plaque number 3, by the way. So that's
Awesome.
what I mean about the ancestors when they say, right, we don't want to hear your music, bruv. We
Mhm.
know you're not as good as Stevie. You're not as bad as Bob. Go on, give us some plaques for a bit. You just have to follow suit. Little do they know I'm coming back. I'll be back.
That's right.
They don't know. I'll be back. Anyway,
Mm.
next one.
Yeah, and the other interesting thing that you said about his story is that he was part of a team of African abolitionists who were
Yeah,
all kind of aristocrats of the
yeah,
day as well, weren't they?
yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Eluadu Ekunana, he was an
Yes,
aristocrat, and the other name
yes.
you mentioned, and so they were all parts of,
Otobatakano. Yeah.
yeah, they were all part of this
Well,
forward
when I,
thinking, enlightened group of Africans
yeah,
petitioning, yeah,
yeah.
for the freedom of other Africans. Yeah.
Indeed, aristocrat is probably a strong word to be honest, is because I mean that
Mhm.
has a baggage in it all. That has a meaning in all itself. They were the elite. They were certainly
Mhm.
the African elite in Britain,
Mhm.
and they had the years of the aristocracy.
Mhm.
And they. I mean, this brother. My plaques are like my children, right? So if you've
Yeah.
had 76 children, you ain't gonna remember all of them, sis.
Yeah.
And some of us can test it. When I say some of us, some are in our community, right? I'm happy with my little 3. But what I'm saying is, I do remember him. Um, I think he was born on a ship. I think he was born on a slave ship, and his
Mm.
mother died in his infancy.
Wow.
And he went to work for one of them lords in the UK, Lord Montague or something another,
Mhm.
and bought his freedom and
Mhm.
was a fascinating brother. But
Mhm.
Equiano, who I also did the plaque to, now he's a
Mhm.
different brother. He saw
Mhm.
slavery. You understand?
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
saw the dark side. And so he was able to write a remarkable book called
Mhm.
The Fascinating Life of Gustavus Vassa, uh,
Mhm.
which which sold like 13 volumes because when
Mhm.
white folk are reading it, they were like, whoa,
Mhm.
because he talks about the dark side, sis. And I'm not
Mm.
talking about dark as in positive now, I'm talking about
Mhm.
the the dark side.
Yeah, I've got that
You
book
know,
too. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Real
yeah.
insights. Uh,
So Mary Prince, another
yeah.
abolitionist,
Okay.
fascinating. She can you see in that picture there? We've got the Premier of Bermuda on the right.
Oh.
Um, I forgot her name now, Mrs. Cox. And on the left, we have Ira,
Oh, Stuart.
Maurice Stewart.
Yeah. Yeah.
I get all. Yeah, Maurice Stewart. They were the two premier Bermudians. Pauline, that's it, Pauline Cox and Maurice Stewart. And we unveiled, that's when the plaque is just unveiled, just for the people to see. And then that's it installed. It's installed on Senate House. Senate House is a grade 2 listed building in Camden. And it's opposite the School of Tropical and School of Tropical Medicine, School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. And it's on the site of SOAS. So it's a beautiful plaque to a wonderful lady who wrote a book about the horrors of slavery. And hers is just as dark as Equiano's, you know. This thing that we don't, sometimes it's good to read these things, but, you know, when you actually read what some of our ancestors endured, sis,
well, we need to know. I mean, if they had to endure it, you know, it shouldn't be too hard for us to read it, because if we're not aware of, you know, how bad things can get, then we could sleepwalk back into a similar situation. So we have to know, you know, when we see the writing on the wall, where to draw the line. Otherwise, you know, we could find ourselves.
So here's the thing. So here's the beautiful thing. I've written a novel called The Last Game of Chess.
Yeah.
None of that's happening again, sis. There's some dark stuff. Of course, there's going to be a lot of stuff. And there's some, I'm not even going to go into it in this, because that, I don't talk about my book. That's the final chapter of Jack Bueller, the publishing of that book, because it's quite a supernatural book. But we ain't walking back into that. That ain't happening. So I hear you. Yeah, that ain't happening.
I like the spirit.
Anyway, don't get me on that, because we're in early doors. Yeah, doors, because there are some stuff that do happen. This sister, I love you so much, Constance. Connie Mark. She was the one that introduced Mary Seacole to us. She gave us or one of the people that introduced Mary Seacole to us. Yeah, she gave us she founded the Mary Seacole Association. She was a Jamaican sister in the war. She was one of the few African sisters from the Caribbean who fought in the British Army, or was in the British Army. Yeah, and she wrote my very first book. So it's remarkable how I meet these people. She typed my first book, not wrote. She typed my first book, which is called The Shape of Kings to Come, which is a book of poetry. And I used to go to. I don't even know where I met her. But at some point I was given a, you know, a little bit of money to type my book, and I've got those. I've actually got the the book she typed for me.
Wow.
Yeah. I love her. She's an amazing lady.
You know, I felt the wave of her campaign, because it was like all of a sudden, you know, we were hearing of Mary Seacole, because we were always taught about Florence Nightingale. But then suddenly, you know, out of the archives almost, you know, from as a ghost that was just coming into the room, we were all hearing about, you know, this Mary Seacole. So Connie was one of the campaigners, it seems, then, was it? Behind,
she was,
you know, bringing Seacole to our memory.
Can I tell you a quick story?
Yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
tell you a quick story. One day I was walking down Harrow Road. I wasn't more than 17, because I was just in my band Stigma. And I was walking down the road, could have been 18. And I don't know why, but she must have been coming from there. But there's this Irish lady came up to me and goes, hey, Bubbler, you know what that Mary Seacole lass like? And I hadn't heard of Mary Seacole. And it was my singer's mother, the Irish lady. And she started to proceed to tell me about this lady called Mary Seacole.
Yeah.
And I subsequently would learn about her, but she knew about her. And this was, as I said, a white Irish lady. And I ain't going to lie, she heard about her maybe at the same time as Connie, or no, she didn't, because Connie was from Jamaica, so Connie knew of Mary Seacole from Yard, you understand, because of this Crimean nurse and all of that business there. But this white lady learnt about Mary Seacole independent of Connie and independent of us, you know, because Mary Seacole's buried in a Catholic grave, you see, in we call it Kensal Green, in Kensal Green.
Okay, there's a few people, famous people buried in that graveyard, isn't there?
Yeah, there's quite a few. But she's buried in the Catholic side. And so that's probably how a lot of people, Catholics, came to know her name, you know. Near a sea coast.
Right.
So I'm going to let you go
You
through
do
the
the
plaques
Irish
now.
accent good.
Oh, I know. Top of the morning. You give me you give. By the way, you know how much Jamaican words are from Ireland?
Oh, I do know.
You
Yeah.
must know it. All
Tell
like
us.
pick me
Mhm,
and then thing there. You understand?
mhm.
And ting. That's an
Yeah.
Irish word. The
Yeah.
ting there. What the ting you're
Yeah.
talking about? You know what I mean?
I
And
can tell you, oh, a whole story about Ireland. You know,
mm,
there's a, you could say, a dark side to Ireland that's been hidden from our history. But the reality
beautiful.
is, I mean, if people watch the history presentation that our brother Dr. Clyde Winters did last week on my show, you'll know what I'm talking about. It was after the Jacobins uprising. There
Yep.
were millions of Africans, Black people living in Ireland and Scotland. And what they did after that uprising was they basically wiped out half of the Africans and transported the other half to Jamaica, Barbados, and what was the other one? Begins with M. Wasn't Martinique?
Montserrat.
Montserrat, yes.
Right.
So a significant percentage of the population of Africans in those countries were actually from Scotland and Ireland. Yeah.
Let me share some stuff with you. When I was first doing Nubian Jak, there was a book called The Black Celts.
Ah,
Fantastic book. Yeah.
yes,
And it
yes,
spoke actually about the African presence in Ireland in
yes,
antiquity.
yes.
So it was a long, so we're not talking about Jacobite period. We're talking
Yeah.
about BC when
Yeah.
there were people
Oh,
like the Fur
yes.
Bolg. Did he tell you about the
Yes.
Fur Bolg? You
Yes.
know, and
Yes.
like Dublin. Do you know what Dublin means?
Yeah. Duff. Yeah.
You know,
From the
do you know
word
what it means?
Duff.
Do you know what Dublin
Black.
means?
Black.
It means
Yeah.
Black Lake.
Yeah.
Yeah, Black Lake. Dublin means
Yeah.
Black Lake. And
Mhm.
there was a man called Nigel Val Dub who I'm just literally
Yeah. No. Go ahead.
oh,
Let's hear the story.
okay.
Go on.
So,
Share it. Share it.
so Nigel Val Dub was the king of the Picts.
Yeah.
All the Pict tribes between 997 and 1004 AD. Please, family in the group, go look it up. Go
Mhm.
look it up. And this is the point I was going to come to say to you, sister, before I elaborate. Question everything.
Mhm.
Don't accept everything. Don't accept everything I'm telling you, sis. And don't accept everything that anybody else tells you, sis.
Mhm.
Do it, check it for yourself. I tell my children that.
Yeah.
Nobody, don't listen to me. Because
Mhm.
I said 1 and 1 is 2, it don't make it 2. You have
Mhm.
to look on your finger and see, oh yeah, it's 2, right? And doing Nubian Jak, I said this for a reason, because the whole Black Africans in Ireland and Scotland needs deeper understanding for us to know, because it's very easy. I don't want to go too much into it, sis. There is a level of scholarship that we ourselves need to um, incorporate when we discuss these things, because if we don't, then
Mhm.
when white folks who have done that level of scholarship, they can
Mhm.
easily break us down. And I remember
Mhm.
when I spoke about um, um, what's his name?
Mhm.
Septimius Severus, the
Mhm.
African Roman emperor in
Mhm.
Rome, who came
Mhm.
over in 2711, so
Mhm.
273 AD, and died in 311. Yeah,
Mm.
actually room rolled from over here.
Yeah.
And I told a friend of mine, that Patrick Vernon, about
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
He didn't have the background. So some guy hit him up on Twitter and says, well, you know about this man, blah, blah, blah. And Patrick is a remarkable man. At the time, now he could, but at the time, he was unable to defend his corner properly because he
Mhm.
was repeating okay, let me tell you, 2 Black Queens of England. Name the first Black Queen of England.
Oh, there were so many. The first, well, there was a queen. I see if I can pronounce her name. Cerinthia, Queen Cerinthia, and she reigned alongside her king husband, King Offa, who was an Anglo-Saxon king, and that was around 700 and something AD. So, and there were queens before her as well, but all the way through. But you weren't talking about Queen Philippa, were you?
I
So,
was talking
because
about
she,
Queen Philippa. I
yeah,
was
because
talking about
she's
Queen Philippa because
recent. She's recent. There were
compared to what
many,
you just said, Yes,
Yeah,
compared to what you just said, she is recent. But
yeah.
the reason I mention that is because when you mention two Black Queens of England, you know,
Yeah.
obviously most people go to the go-to person, which is
Sophia.
Queen Sophia,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they are unable to, and if they do mention Queen Philippa, they're unable to go a little bit more deeper in it. So I'm just saying,
yeah.
question everything. And I'll give you one more example, shall I? And that was when I was doing the board game. This is a very important point. I remember because in the board game you have to have 8 different disciplines
Mhm.
of areas: literature and art, politics and law, sport, history, science, engineering. You have to have a level of research that you can elaborate on each particular question, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's what the questions are. You can deconstruct. Anyway, my point is, someone said to me, Jack, do you know it was a brother that invented the cat's eyes? You know, the cat's eyes on the
Yeah,
road.
yeah,
And I thought, boy, if that brother invented cat's eyes, because I remember when I first heard about the traffic light and all of that, right? And the black
yeah.
man invented the mobile phone. I thought, this is going to be a big one. And I thought, it don't sound right because no one else, none of my scholars have signposted me to this.
Hmm,
So
hmm.
this is a little bit left field, but it's possible. And the guy was so, enthusiastic. And I did a little simple search, and it was some white guy called Percy, what do you call it? And he invented the cat's eyes because one night was driving and something reflected on the surface of the road,
Hmm,
and Eureka, he ran with that. So
hmm.
I'm only saying, just for me and for all of our family listening, reproof things for yourself. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sometimes you
yeah.
might even have a different spin on certain things. Don't just
Mm,
listen to what I've said
yeah.
or anybody has said for that matter.
Yeah,
Go and research
dig
it for
and do
yourself.
your own research.
Do your own research.
Absolutely. You know, sometimes you come across those stories and you have to dig that little bit deeper as well, because, you know, I was doing research into Ireland, still doing it at the moment. And I've
Yeah.
got a book coming out soon that I'm writing on it.
Nice.
And when you look into Black Irish, yeah, what comes up is an avalanche of information about
Yeah.
pale skinned people with black hair who are the
Yes.
Black Irish, all to
Yes.
cover up the real
Yes.
Black Irish and who the
Yes.
original indigenous Black Irish people actually were. And
So
so
as
if
a
you
yeah,
only research at a surface level, you're going to come up with, you know, a lot of misinformation that's been deliberately, you know,
yeah,
flooded,
yes,
that they flooded the internet with. So you have to
yes,
dig deep and go back into the ancient books, you know,
yes.
the really old books, 18th, 19th century
Tell,
books.
tell, tell
Get
my
the
family to
original.
look up Nigel Valdub. Nigel Valdub is an
Yeah,
incredibly interesting person because he's not. There's no refute. There's no. It's there in the annals of Ireland. And this was a brother who was king of the Pictish tribes from
hmm,
997 to 104 AD. I mentioned him because of the word dub again. Yeah,
yeah,
dub. Niger.
yeah.
What a coincidence.
Niger,
Niger. Right.
Niger. So you know,
Val.
we know where he
Dub.
was from. Uh-huh.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Niger in
Niger the
Latin is
Black.
black, right?
Niger.
Val is son of Dub, black.
Uh-huh.
The
Uh-huh.
black son of the black, king
Yeah,
of the, you
yeah.
understand? And
And
it's
the Picts
there,
were small-statured, dark pigmented people. Yeah, from
correct.
Africa.
And go absolutely.
Yeah.
And they
So
they
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 were they're
they,
called
they
pygmies, but that was
yeah,
an insulting name for them. But yeah,
right.
they populated the whole of Scotland, Ireland, Wales, yeah, the world, in
Indeed.
fact. You know, yeah. The
Okay.
well, but anyway, we're
I'll
sidetracked.
take your word.
I think we'll have to have you back on just to play your game. You read out, you
That,
know, the cards, and everyone in the chat comes up with the
we
answer,
we
or
you
they
know we
pop
have
on
that.
screen.
I
Yeah.
have that. I have that every Christmas, every Kwanzaa, myself and my team and Andrew Mohammed, the investigator. We have this international quiz. We have the largest, not even black quiz. We have the largest game show
Look at that.
on the net.
It's
Have you not
already
heard this actually?
happening.
Have you heard
No.
it? Every Kwanzaa, and we do questions and
Really?
we play music and
I'll
we
look out
dance
for it
and
this
we
year.
extra points. Yeah. So tune in with us this Kwanzaa.
Sounds
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
You
should we go
can.
back to the
Yeah.
presentation?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay, here it is. So let's go to the next slide.
So here's what I'm going to say, sis. I'm going
Yeah.
to do this slide and then I'm going to let you scroll through because there's a lot of slides and we're only on
Okay.
pack 8. Yeah.
Wow,
And
wow, wow. Yeah.
right. So this one, I'm just going to give quick homage to Claudia, the wonderful, amazing Claudia. All right. In fact,
Yeah.
if you don't mind, I'm going to
Yeah.
come back to Claudia because I want to
Yeah.
raise something of interest to the family group. So let's move on, and we'll go one by one, and we'll see what's
Go to
next.
the next one.
And I'll just touch right. So that's a plaque to Nelson Mandela and the wonderful Winnie. So that's
Winnie. Oh, big up Winnie
yes.
every
You have
time.
to pick up every time for it.
Yeah.
That's on the HQ headquarters of the ANC in Islington. Yeah. The next slide is to our first black peer, first first Sir Lord Leary Constantine, and he was one of those that CLR James was talking about. He was flipping the concept of cricket, and he was just like, you know, dominating the game, and he became a peer. He was also a legal eagle. He was also a barrister, formidable man as well. So the next one is to Rudy Narayan. Do you know who this man is?
No, I can't say I do. I can see he was a barrister though. Rudy
Let
Narayan.
me tell you this, brother. Rudy Narayan. There's family. There's people in this group.
Oh, his name's familiar. I think, yeah,
sis,
but let me hear the story. Sorry.
sis, Rudy Narayan was a brother from Guyana, right?
Yeah.
Don't call him Indian. I beg you, don't call him Indian. This was, I mean, this man was a revolution that inspired so many people. So many people helped to found the Society of Black Lawyers, for example.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Oh.
He was a thorn in the Labour Party side. He was a working class hero. He was based in Brixton.
Yes.
And sis,
yes.
Trust me, I'm Nubian Jak, right? This man is a bad boy. This one is a community hero. I tell you, he's on par with, and he may be even. I'm not going to compare. He's on par with Bernie Grant in terms of his political vociferousness, speaking for the voiceless, setting up surgery in the heart of Brixton, and being a god to the people there. And you can't call him Asian or brown. He's not having it. What? Society of Black Lawyers? He was one of the founding members. It's a bit of you know, loved his women, right? Don't we all? But it was even when we did his plaque, I got to tell you, I got to stay on point because I know a lot of sisters are listening. But I invited his wife, and sis, I had to invite his other halves. If there's such an equation, another decimal equation, other halves. But no, he did. And the energy was beautiful. He's a wonderful man. So Rudy Narayan, take a bow. We love you. All right.
And I've heard his name. I have heard of him. I think probably back in the days in the 80s when it was all about, equal opportunities and the fight for equality and against racism.
He was more than that. He was more than that. But why we love him so much? He was human. He was flawed. He liked to drink. Do you understand? But he was, as a barrister, you were in no better hands. He was like the Johnny Cochran. He was amazing. And sadly, he had a demon, which was alcohol. And that scuppered his career, to tell you the truth. He was supposed to be the first black MP, and they deselected him. I think he was supposed to be in Oval or Vauxhall, and they deselected him because of some incident. One day he just kicked off, let off, and stuff. He even wrote a thing called Black Silk, I think, which was aired. It was amazing. I can't spend too much time on Rudy. Rudy was like
big up Rudy.
Yeah. Of all the people I wanted to do, I made sure he comes in at number 12. So that shows how much respect. And we did it in the evening for him in Brixton, and we shut Brixton down. I forgot to add that bit. Yeah, he's a hero. Anyway, let's move on. We'll come to John Archer, London's first black mayor. If you look at the next slide is a book that I did. And we didn't have any images of John Archer, any modern images of him. So I got this artist called Paul, I forgot his surname now, in Liverpool to paint this image of John Archer. And it was going to be the cover of my book. And by the way, at the back of the plaque, you've got all his names, all the names of these schools. I worked at 4 schools. There's so much I'm missing out. Let me just stick to the point. When the Royal Mint saw the book, they said, "We haven't got an image for John Archer. Please, can we use the cover of your book to do a stamp to John Archer?" So I said, "You can, but I don't own the picture. The copyright is owned by Paul." And I put them in touch with Paul, and the end result is the cover of my book.
Phenomenal.
Right. So moving on. my most tragic plaque, the highest, biggest number attended. We had Peckham closed, Lewisham closed down, New Cross, I should say, closed down to honour these 4 wonderful people, 14 wonderful people. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I did have a video which I wanted to play, because there is more to this than meets the eye, believe you me. But I'm not going to be the
Do
one
put
to
the
go
links to those videos. If you send me the links to those videos, I'll put it in the description.
Sure.
Video.
Okay. So the next slide would be the link then.
Yes, yes. Okay.
Yeah, you could put that the link in the next slide. Okay, so moving on. George Padmore, man, Malcolm Meredith Nurse, who gave us the blueprint for Pan-Africanism, was in Kwame Nkrumah's government. We did a plaque to him in Houston, and I'm not going to say too much about that as well, but it was a wonderful occasion, and got a plaque. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I'm going to do, right, this is the plaque, this is the page I want to get to, because what I'm going to do, I'm going to be selective in my plaques now. So we can the reason I've arrived on this page is because the lady on the right is of particular interest. Now, she's the only white woman currently to have a plaque from a Nubian Jak plaque. And there are some people I want to do. I want to do one of the Pankhurst sisters, the one that went to Ethiopia with Haile Selassie. There are certain people who are deserving of a plaque, and she's one of them. But before I start with her, we're going to start at the source. The lady on the left is Claudia Jones, civil rights goddess, newspaper magnate, and an intellectual giant who, after the 1958 race riots in Notting Hill, famously said the words, "We want to get the taste of Notting Hill out of our mouths." And what she did, Sister Shanice, she organized an indoor carnival in Camden Town Hall to the victims of Notting Hill. And every year she had a carnival for the victim of Notting Hill. I don't want to call them victims, the people who uprised in Notting Hill. She had a fundraiser for them. And that uprising was on the August bank holiday, 1958. And she ran the thing up until 1964, her death. And so she's the mother of Caribbean Carnival in Britain. Nobody does it better. Nobody did it like her. She was the source. She was the first. But the thing that happened on the street, so Claudia's inextricably linked with Notting Hill. Family, don't take my word for it. I could be a brainwash you who wants to give the run-ins to Ronnie Lasler. Fortunately, I'm not a devil and I wouldn't do that. But I'm of Jah, and that's why I'm going to give Ronnie her space. Because what Ronnie did, Ronnie was a social worker. She was a good white woman who used to have Muhammad Ali visit her yard, right? My particular hero. And what her thing was, I want to have a Notting Hill fair for the Arabs, for the Polish, for the Africans, for the West Indians, for the Irish, for the English. And she had this wonderful multicultural fair. It wasn't a Notting Hill Carnival. But what she did, she had the roads closed in August, bank holiday, 1965. You see, Shanice, that's how Jah works. Jah works. It's that's why you get a Bob Marley. Who would have thought some Scottish man coming to, was he Scottish or English? I even forget now. Bob's father, anyway.
Scottish,
was he Scottish or English?
Yeah.
English, I even forget anyway. Whatever it is. Comes to yard, right? Let's be honest. He's having relations with a young woman. She's like 80. Bob's mother's a young woman, you know, when she's having Bob. You understand? This man is all in his 50s and that. See, the ancestors had other plans. Because from that union, we get a Bob. And you don't know how many people Bob has inspired through his lyrics. So that's how the whole thing, I say, is twisted. when they say don't get it twisted. This is just because this sister gave us the parameter to shut off the roads. She had no idea that there was a man. Let's go forward, sis. Let me just go forward. I'm going to dwell on that. I'm going to go forward. Frank, big up you, Frank, but it's not your day today. I'm not dealing with you, Frank.
Oh.
A minute, so I have to stop a bit now. So here we go. All right. Yeah. Well, on. Let me go to somewhere and then come back to Malcolm because I don't want to lose my thread. So go to big up you, Dennis. Love you, Dennis. And next one. There you go. So the brother on the left, his name is Russell Henderson. He was one of the 3 West Indian musicians that Ronnie Lasler put in a little youth center to go and bang your little pans, go and do your little West Indian thing, yeah, my brethren, go and do that, and that's that you'll tick that box for me, yeah. So they're there, and nothing ain't going in, sis. You remember these are 3 Trinis: Russell Henderson, Sterling Bettercourt, and the drummer guy. I forgot his name for now, but he's just as important. But Russell, Shanice, says, listen, we can't stay in here. This is not how we do it.
Yeah.
And what he did, this has nothing to do with Ronnie now, you know. God, Jah already used Ronnie to invite them. And by the way, why Russell's important? Because Russell also played with Claudia at the indoor carnival. Wow. So Russell is the link. He's a supernatural link. Right. What Russell does, and God made Russell the man who spoke, said, let's take it to the street.
All right.
And they took the 3 of them, walked from St. Luke's Road down to Portobello Road, back up Lancaster Road. They took an hour, and in that hour, they changed the history of England forever. Wow. Because they came back as Pied Pipers. You had white people cracking their neck, looking out of the door, saying, what is this wonderful music coming from? That is the birth of the Notting Hill Carnival. There with that dude, not with Claudia. Love you, Claudia. You did your thing, and definitely not with Ronnie, because Ronnie, you'd come into a multicultural thing. It starts with this dude. But here's the thing. You ask Russell Henderson, who started the Notting Hill Carnival, you'll never guess what he will say.
No, what do you say? The people.
He will say Ronnie Lasler. See that, sis? So I was given the honor to open the Notting Hill Carnival weekend twice. Wow. Once with Ronnie and Claudia's plaque, and once with Russell and Leslie Palmer's plaque. I'm going to miss out Leslie for today. And well, very quickly, Leslie was the one that took it to Capital Radio and turned this thing from 3,000 every week, every month, every year to 500,000. That one there, Leslie Palmer. Wow. Yeah, and he was the one that introduced sound systems. So it's all of that. But Russell Henderson, you're the spark, bruv, and you don't even know it. But I do, and that's why I gave you a plaque. And that's why when I teach the history of Notting Hill Carnival, you are like, I'm not going to call you like Jesus. You are like, you're like Selassie. You are reluctant. You know, when people say, Selassie, you're God. He goes, no, I'm not God. And they said, oh, you must be God because you're saying you're not God. This is like Russell Henderson. Russell's like, it wasn't me. And we're like, it was you. Like, let's go back to Malcolm. We spent too much time on Russell.
Okay. Oh, phenomenal stories, though. And, you know, as I listen to each of these stories, what it's reminding me is that each one can make a difference.
Yeah.
And it just takes one to make a huge impact and a huge difference.
Exactly.
And here's another one.
So here's the most remarkable, one of the most remarkable plaque recipients, the amazing Malcolm X. And we honored him in Birmingham, and we honored him at a place called Smethwick, because in 11 days before Malcolm is assassinated, he's in England, Smethwick, trying to desegregate housing in Smethwick, because there was a Tory MP that said, if you want an N-word for a neighbour, go and go vote for the other the Labour youth. And Malcolm said, yo, what you doing, man? These houses need to be desegregated. What are you doing? This is, you know. And so he walked with some people. It's a famous footage news. And I went or my team and I went and honoured him 40 years after his assassination to the very day with a plaque to the remarkable Malcolm X. Amawali Malcolm X as well. Anyway, we move on now. Let's move on. Just want to go back to so yes, keep going.
Yeah, okay. Tell me when to stop.
Okay, well, I can stop it anyway, you know. Um, okay, Stanley Wilt. Let's go Arthur Stanley Wilt. Arthur Stanley Wint is the original Usain Bolt. He
Whoa,
is,
say,
yeah, he
whoa.
is the first. Sis, every one of these plaques are a story. Like I said, when they were born, every one of them I cradled, I cuddled, I knew this story intimately. I knew the roads they were, I knew the times they were delivered, I knew who the mayor was going to be. And now there's like a distant memory, you
Yeah,
know. But
yeah.
Arthur Stanley Wint, his daughter came over here for the unveiling.
Oh.
We had the reception at the Jamaican embassy. His plaque is installed in South Kensington on a
Mhm.
multi-million pound house. And
Mhm.
I had the address, and I didn't know who the owner of the house was. So one day I just put my suit on, because I do this sometimes. I put a suit on and I knocked on the door. And I had some old dear come to the door, and I just spoke to her in my best English and said, "Look, it'd be really wonderful, madam, if you would consider, you know, honouring the wonderful Arthur Stanley Wint and all the rest of it."
Yeah.
And the woman said, "Yes."
Okay.
And so there's the plaque to
Yeah.
prove it.
And he actually lived at that house, did he,
He
back in
lived
the
at that
day?
house of his family. He was a
Wow.
diplomat. He was a doctor. He was an RAF pilot. And
Mm.
crucially, he was Jamaica's first Olympic gold medalist in the
Wow.
400 meters.
Yeah.
And he was, like I said, a god. And you can see when I say I don't make the comparison with Usain lightly, because he was also quite a tall, leggy, and lanky
Mhm.
brother as well.
Mhm.
But beautiful diplomat. What I love about that generation, they're so eloquent. You know, they dress so well, they
Yeah.
speak so clear, they think so smart, they're
Mhm.
so strategically acute. And remember, they're coming out of colonialism, you understand?
Mm.
But
Mhm.
they put the effort in terms of readership and scholarship and statesmanship.
Mhm.
And so, rightly so, he gets a plaque. Let's move on.
Bernie Grant.
Okay, is there
Woo!
anything that needs to be said that hasn't already been said? I mean,
Well,
Bernie,
we've
we
got
love you.
viewers from all around the world, so there may
Yeah.
well be, many that have never heard of Bernie Grant, but
Oh, okay.
he holds
Well,
a
fair enough.
special place, doesn't he, in all of
He
our
does.
hearts.
He does. So
His
he was one
free
of the
chair.
first three black or people of African heritage MPs to join Parliament, which again, my mind's gone now. Is it? It was 1980 something on it. Was it
I
80?
think it was, yeah, it was in the 80s.
Yeah, it was
Because
80s. I
there was a
can't
wave
remember
of
when. Yeah.
them, Diane Abbott and a few of them,
Yes,
weren't they, at the
Keith
same
Vaz and Paul Boateng, and of course Bernie. And so we put this plaque on his surgery in Tottenham, where he used to give advice to his constituents. And what I loved about Bernie, I met him a few times actually.
time.
What I loved about him was that there was a particular unsavory incident with uh, not Sherry Gross. What's the sister's name? Sis who got killed? She got killed. Anyway, she got killed in Tottenham, and Bernie
Mhm.
uh, confronted the police and told the
Wow.
police
Mhm.
that their handling of the situation helped to ignite it. And as a result of that, his words, they got a bloody good hiding. Of course, they never
Mm.
ever
Yeah.
forgave him
No.
for saying that.
Mm.
And one day, I just add my little piece of the story again. One day, I was signing on. There was a time when I wasn't as rich and as wealthy as I am now, and
Mhm.
I used to sign on,
Mhm.
um, which is all in my head because I'm even poorer than I was when I signed on. But anyway, just for jokes, I'll say that I'm rich. But
Yeah.
anyway, I went to sign on, sis, and this
Yeah.
is real talk, Shanice. When I went to sign on,
Mm.
I had done some work with Richard Branson before, and they said, come back behind here. This is in Lisson Grove,
Mhm.
Lisson Green office. And when I went behind the count, when I went back into the room, bang, handcuffs. They put handcuffs on me.
What?
Yeah. And they took me, sis, this is my life. I'm telling you what happened to me. They took me to Paddington Green Station, where they
What?
interviewed, I nearly swore, where they interviewed terrorists, right, sis?
Uh-uh.
And they were doing me for working while signing on. This is in the 80s,
Mm-mm.
obviously, this is about 86.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Um, and I was taken upstairs and interrogated. The only reason I mention all of this, because I was very cocky when I was young, sis, and I'm
Mhm.
upstairs, And I mentioned to the police, I said, haven't you got nothing better to do? This is just like Bernie said. You guys got a bloody good hiding, didn't you? Over at Woodwater Farm. Oh my God. It's only through Ja why I'm here today. Because
Wow.
there was a ginger guy in there, nothing to do with his hair, ginger color of his hair, but this guy wanted to kill me. He said, don't you ever talk about, and the guy got up. And I'm like, oh my God, they're going to kill me.
Yeah.
I'm just teasing them because I'm
It was
cocky.
like a red rag
And
to
they're
a bull, wasn't it? Yeah.
they're gonna kill me, dispose of my body, and then do one of those jobs where I killed myself in the police station. You understand? But Juicer Judd did get into him, and it's actually his colleague calmed him down. But I remember thinking, this guy's gonna kill me. Yeah. Anyway, it was my homage to Birdie, because I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that. I was winding the guy up, and anyway, the upshot is I got off. By the way. I didn't get done for signing on and working. So move on.
Oh, good. Yeah, Bernie, we love Bernie.
Love Bernie.
He went into the Houses of Parliament, didn't he? In his
African
attire.
in African attire. Yeah.
They didn't like him for that at all.
Gadishi. Yeah. He's a beautiful man. Wonderful, lovely man. Okay, let's.
Sheroes in the chat who says, I love Bernie Grant. We will never have another policeman who fought for us. No, a politician, I suppose, who fought for us like he did. Rest in perfect power, King Bernie. Yes, indeed. And Paddington Green, he says, was notorious after everything they stole from us, and they have the cheek to talk about benefit fraud. Them need a benefit kick.
Exactly.
Isn't it? These are the ones who go around the world stealing everything, and they say, "Thou shalt not steal."
Exactly. Hypocrite. Yeah. So, Sid, at what stage do we take questions? Because I'm aware that we're cracking on a bit, and there's a million things.
Well, what we'll do is we'll let everyone know right now. Please put your questions in the chat. We'll do one or two more plaques. That will give you an opportunity to think of your questions or put your questions in the chat to our special guest today. All right.
So if we've got one or two, I'm going to pass Samuel Coleridge Taylor because he was a wonderful classical thing. I'm just going to briefly touch on Frederick Douglass because he was the original Barack Obama, for those who don't know, first African person to run for president of the United States and also run for vice president. So he gets a special mention, and he had a place in South Kensington, and we had a little link there. Frank Bates, will pass on Frank Bates. Frank Bates was a pioneering musician. Pioneering musician. We've got to obviously say hello to Stephen, give credence to Stephen Lawrence. Although there was one plaque earlier that I did to Kelso Cochran, who was the original Stephen Lawrence. So we passed that one. But Stephen Lawrence, we know the story, sadly all too well. And what I will say is his parents have been remarkably dignified. Even though Doreen's kind of getting on, Doreen's, won't say anything. But they've been very dignified, and I'm not sure, and I really mean that. I'm not so sure if it was a more contemporary Jamaican family or a working, with their working class. But okay, if it was a family like mine now, sis, I'm not so sure. A man could just keep
calm
holding
like
it together.
that.
You understand? They're dupping out to frighten, and they've gone about it the right way. But sometimes people just need to say what you think. You know what I mean? Anyway, this is being taped, isn't it? So
yes,
I've already conceded to not getting my peership, so don't worry about that. Go back down a bit. Did you just do Laurie Cunningham?
Yes.
Yeah, this is a bad we've got to give him a bit of time. This is on the stadium. This is on Leighton Orient Stadium. This is the first black man to put on an England shirt. It was the England under-21s, He's I think the third black player to play for the senior England team. This is the original Messi. This man, he's the first English player, quote, just for the sake of the conversation, first English player to go to Real Madrid. This is him in Real Madrid now playing against Barcelona. Laurie Cunningham in the 80s. They've airbrushed it out. And he's a fascinating character. I won't spend too much time on him. I just wanted to give him a bit of time.
So to all those who are into their football, they're getting ecstatic right now about this one. I'll keep going
Okay.
until you tell me to stop.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
All right.
Keep
So we can
going.
just all take in all these, wonderful names. George Africanus. That's an interesting name and date.
Interesting name. Created one of
1763.
the
Got to
first.
look up. Yes.
Yes, first working agencies in this country. But because I'm going to do one more, I'm not going to stop at George. Walter Tull, I'm not even going to do him. Not just because he played for Tottenham, by the way. Simply to say, we'll keep him honest. What I'm going to do, I'm going to do this one. So keep going. This one is a fundraising single for this. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to end on the two statues. So I also, so if my plaques are my singles, my statues are my albums. And this statue, this statue here, keep going, my dear sister, is to the African and Caribbean servicemen and women, who served in both world wars, right? I actually got a letter from Her Majesty the Queen. I've mentioned it before when she passed, right? And everybody knows what I think of the Queen, but I will say she gave me a letter which was very helpful to this cause. So even in the darkness of darkness, light can shine, as one of the philosophers once said. And in this particular memorial dedicated to African and Caribbean soldiers, Queen Elizabeth wrote and acknowledged that 2 million Africans served in both world wars. Nobody did that up until then. Nobody had done that. Even the historians are trying to style it out. There was X amount from Jamaica and there was this from that.
2 million.
2 million, sis, in both world wars. 2 million.
And hardly get a mention.
Right. Well, guess what?
Airbrushed out of our history books.
It will never go away, because you know what? There is a mention in the form of a memorial in the heart of Brixton, in the heart of the capital, in the heart of Black Europe, in Brixton. The African and Caribbean Memorial testifies to their contribution. And if you notice, I'll just touch on it by saying it's done in the classic war memorial symbol of an obelix. Yeah. But the obelix is a phallic symbol, sis.
And it comes a pyramid behind it. That's what
I'm going to come on to that. I'm going to come on to that.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to come on to that, of course. The phallic is the obelix is a phallic symbol based on the Osirian drama and all the rest of it. And all war memorials tend to have that symbolism. Well, I thought, well, hold on. We're about order and chaos, the law of opposites, night and day. And I thought, I'm not having a phallic symbol there without a symbol of a female. And that's what the pyramid represents. It's the female genitalia flipped.
Oh,
so here you have order, you have the law of opposites, you have harmony, you have truth. And that is my contribution to that space. It was just not about the brothers who died, because sisters died as well. We died. How are we gonna come back? We're only coming back for a woman. So there you go. There it is there. The law of opposites. And I'll end by saying, from the tip of the obelix to the tip of the pyramid is 90 centimeters. And that number is replicated 4 times around that symbol to create the number 360 degrees. 90 times 4. And the final thing I want to say, sis, underneath that stone, you see that stone there, that memorial? I'm taking nobody fast with it. Underneath it, when we were laying this stone, I had Professor Gus. Professor Gus John is a high priest. People like Kisheni they and a group of other people. I wasn't there, me never again either. Actually, I did one of Gus. They went. I will tell the world. I'm telling you, we did sacrifices. I said it. We did sacrifices for that memorial. There are sacrifices under that memorial, sis. If anybody try and move that memorial, whoever it is, I could never move it. I will come up with bumps and bruises and come up like Howard Carter. That one is there to stay. And whenever, because someone's going to move it in 300 years or 400 years or whenever they do it, the legend will happen. Don't fast with it, because that is something deep and spiritual. And it's bigger than us. And that's why the reparations mark starts there.
That's
People
right.
think, you know what, there's a deeper energy going on, sis, with that space. Anyway, we'll just do one more. Yeah, the
Yeah,
very
which
last
one
one
do you want
is
me
the
to go
statue.
to?
The
Yeah.
statue. So we're going to go to the statue.
Okay.
One more statue. Keep going, my
Keep
sis.
going.
Largest plaque in the world, by the way. That's the largest plaque in the world, but keep going.
Yeah. We're going as we go through, we're just absorbing the names and the images.
Yeah.
Hey, there's my local man from Peckham,
Yeah.
Carol
Okay.
Moody.
Oh,
Big
really,
up, big
yes.
up.
Yes, Cecile Brigger. This is in Wales, our first international
Oh,
plaque.
Phyllis Wheatley is in
But
there as
the only plaque I did that with Black History Walks. That's the only plaque in the city.
well.
Bob Marley, but only blue plaque in the city. Keep
Uh-huh.
going. Right, Septimus Size.
Septimus
We already did him.
Severus,
That's on
yeah.
Hadrian's Wall. That one.
Uh-huh.
We should be coming to it soon. First woman black footballer in
Oh, right.
1896. Yeah,
Oh,
Emma
okay.
Clark.
Okay,
Keep going.
okay.
Yeah, bad sister. Yep. Keep going.
Mali and the
And
Wailers.
going
Haile
to His
Selassie.
Majesty. Yeah, you understand.
Hey. Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. And first
Oh,
black pop star in England. Keep going.
okay.
Yeah. William Cuffy. Keep
Yeah.
going. Choice
Choice
FM.
FM, we
Good.
remember
Yeah.
it well. Yes,
Yeah.
Colour.
Olive Morris. She deserves a mention, but no time. But Val McCullough. And there we go.
Oh.
We keep going. That's the statue. Keep going. And there you go. So that statue is dedicated to black women. It's called the Windrush and Commonwealth NHS Nurses and Midwives statue. And that statue is made out of 16 pieces. And it's to represent the 7 years, 1 and 6 is 7, the 7 years since the NHS was founded. If you notice, the face is an ankh, key of life. The whole arms, the face is brown. It's a sister of color. And that sister on the extreme right is Jackie Dunk Bentley. She gave birth, she delivered George and Sophia.
Oh.
That black sister, they delivered the future king of this country.
Oh,
And his sister,
wow.
Jackie Huntley Bentley.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well, she doesn't
yeah.
get a mention, does she?
That's not
In
enough.
the press, I would never have known that.
But
Wow.
anyway, it's every piece of the 16 pieces are cut to a number divided by 7.
Oh,
And that's to
wow.
represent the
That's
7
into
decades. Yeah. It's
generations
an
again.
amazing piece of work, sis.
Yeah.
That
So this
piece
is
of
the
work.
black woman holding a white baby, is it?
Exactly. So here's the thing. The baby represents the NHS.
Okay.
They're saying that without the NHS, this is, remember, sis, you used the word, the beginning, the theme for this presentation is art.
Yes.
So instead of me go and say, you know what, if it wasn't for the black people, your NHS would have died, which is true. I'd put it in a piece of art which is there for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
There you go. It's not a white baby, it's the symbolism of the NHS.
Okay.
And if you're close enough, you'll see her breast, her left breast is indented. If you go and look at the statue, because that's got very powerful energy as well. The statue is indented. She's given so much, she has nothing to give.
Wow.
And that is, it's a lovely, lovely piece of art, I think, anyway.
Yeah.
And that's it. I'll take questions now.
Wonderful, wonderful, phenomenal works in the community. Wow, wow, wow. Thank you so, so much for sharing those great stories of some of our greats in our community. Let's go over to the chat and hear what some of our audience participants have to say. But thank you, Brother Nubian Jak. Right, let's see what we've got here. At Garwood, the Ankh personifies. What I could do, I could actually put them up on screen. Let's
Okay,
see.
yeah, good.
So
Yes.
Ankh personifies creation, life, GAUT, thought, perfect balance and harmony. Okay,
Yes.
Thank you so much for that.
So that's a comment. Yeah, thank you.
Travel abroad. Sister, but get in the house. Rise up, Queen. How you doing? Hey. Okay, let's see just at random here. What's this? Lillian Bader was not a pilot. She was an instrument tech?
Okay, who's mentioned the Lillian Bader? I
Okay. Oh,
haven't.
maybe they could be having another conversation in the
Oh,
chat.
I see, I
Yeah,
see, I
they
see.
do
Yeah,
that
she was a great woman,
sometimes.
by the way. She's a fantastic lady, and she deserves a plaque. Yeah, yeah. She wasn't from London. I think she was, if I'm not mistaken, I think Liverpool. Maybe Chris can let us know, but she
Oh,
deserves a plaque. She was an amazing lady.
okay, another
Um,
name to look up then as well. Let's see what this person is said here. The Sheroes, welcome. When Leighton
when Leighton
Orient was, yeah, go ahead, Ruth.
when Leighton Orient was Clapham FC, we had the first black footballer to play for English team. Do you have a plague to hear? I think he means plaque.
Yeah.
Pray tell me, I don't know everything, so I was not aware of. Are you talking about Walter Tull? I think he's talking about Walter Tull. And yes, I do have a plaque to Walter Tull.
Okay, okay,
I'm
fantastic.
100% sure he's talking about Walter Tull. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Sheroes, what's this one saying? I suggest you look it up. Not everyone in the RAF was a pilot.
Uh,
Oh,
that's
okay.
between Chris and Sheriffs. Sheriffs and Chris are having their own
Oh, they're
convo.
having their own
Yeah,
conversation, are
yeah,
they? Okay, let me
yeah.
just flick up a bit and see what we've got here. I was so fortunate to meet. Okay, who were you fortunate to meet, Joseph? Oh, Lillian
Okay.
Barth. Oh, so this is where the
Yeah,
conversation started from.
yeah.
Who's been airbrushed out of history? Laurie Cunningham. Okay, I think they didn't know about Laurie Cunningham there.
Yeah,
Okay,
I don't know if Chris is saying that he. Okay, I don't know if Chris is saying he's not airbrushed out of history. I don't know. It looked a bit like he was saying Laurie Cunningham has been given some of his due credit. What is due. What about
okay.
George
I
Washington
don't know
Gillespie?
names, but I know there's someone who's getting a statue made of them. I'm not really into
Yeah,
football, but I did kind of hear that someone's getting a statue made of
there,
them.
there was a statue.
First black somebody.
John Chilimwe's got a statue on the fourth plinth in
Okay.
Trafalgar Square, and that was
Oh,
put in a couple of weeks ago. And
oh,
John
that must have been the one. Yeah.
is amazing, man. Yeah, John Chilimwe. See, this is when I first started out the whole Nubian Jak journey. John Chilimwe was the first one that said Africa for the Africans,
Hey,
and it was
really?
Garvey that said those abroad and those
Those at
at
home
home
and
and
those
those abroad.
abroad. Yeah.
But John Chilimwe started it. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
1915, 1916. Amazing,
Wow.
man. Yeah.
Wow.
What
Okay.
about George Washington Gillespie? Wasn't he Black President of America? I mean, there's a guy called John. I forgot his name now. Who there's been alleged 15 or 16 Black presidents of America. There certainly was a Black president before it became the United States. We definitely know that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know all the names, Garwood, but yeah, I wouldn't doubt that there wasn't a someone by that name. I don't know at this time.
Okay.
Paddington
Paddington
Green was
Green.
notorious. Oh
Hey.
yeah. After everything they own, they stole from us. They have the cheek to talk about benefit fraud. They need a benefit go out. I think I've heard that one
We
before.
get that
Very
one,
true.
yeah.
And I came out of there alive. So here you go. I love Benny Grant. We will never
Oh,
have another
interesting.
politics. We've read that
Yeah,
one as well. Yeah.
yes, yes. Okay, let me go the other way. What's this one here? Uh, okay. In America, KKK, we've only taught that Malcolm X was a very Western phenomena. Wow,
What does
really?
that mean? What does that mean?
In
Does that,
America, what they were taught about Malcolm was that he was a very Western phenomena.
okay. So
So
maybe they're
we know,
unaware of
yeah, go on.
Malcolm in Britain and Malcolm in Africa. I think that's
Yeah,
what that one's alluding to.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
because
Malcolm
I'm
touched
here
the
saying the
world.
same thing. They didn't know that he went to Birmingham.
Yeah,
People
yeah,
are loving it. Okay, let me scroll down and go in the other direction and see what new ones we've got coming in.
yeah,
Yes, we picked up the it should have been politician and not police. We know what you
yeah,
meant there. What's this one here? Check the comment section after the chat. I'll leave a link for you. Okay. All right. This is another conversation, I think. Oh, someone loves your name, Nubian Jak. How did you
yeah.
come about that name? Good
Okay,
question.
okay. So my name, I was born with the name Johnny, which became John, and John and Jack is synonymous. And as a kid, they used to call me Jack, and I hated it. I hated it because I thought it was offensive, actually. And I'll let you know something else. I also hated Babula as well, the name my father gave me, because I thought it sounded too African. Yeah, that's how I was when I was
Oh,
young, right?
yeah.
So, right. So let's park that for now. That's Jack, spelled with Jack. Okay. So I explained earlier on, I was doing a board game called Union Black, based on the Nubian Jak. Sorry, based on the Union Jak. I was calling it Union Black, and I was not allowed to call my board game Union Black, and I felt offended. Again, tell me I can't do it, and I'll make it better. So I then thought,
Yeah.
okay, Nubian Jak then, and they couldn't
Yeah.
stop that,
Yeah.
and that's how it came about.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. And on the comment that you made about your name, you thought sounding too African. I mean, back in the days, they portrayed the image of an African in such
Yeah,
a derogatory and
exactly.
dehumanizing
Yeah,
way that
yeah,
it made a lot of us back then
of
not want
course.
to
Yeah,
identify with being African. And it's only when we managed to start teaching ourselves our own history that we
yeah,
begun to realize the greatness of an
correct.
African and what an African
Absolutely. Yeah,
stood for, the fact that it was Africans that civilized the world and had contributed
exactly.
so much, laid the
Yes,
foundations for everything that we're enjoying today. And so therein lies the power of knowing your own history and who
correct.
you are. That's why the work that you do is so profound. And I'm sure that you must have been impacted by, that really negative, inferior kind of complex that was put
Yeah,
on us through the
yeah.
education system, which made you, when you realized your greatness, want to just share it. Yeah.
I was brought up as a Christian, so I was brought up. I kind of
Yeah.
had a container in which my African um, personality was, I think, constricted. So I had the white Jesus on the wall. Come on now, and I had all the rest of the Christian messages that didn't correlate with who I am now, for instance. You
Mhm,
understand?
mhm,
And there's nothing wrong with um, going through the journey of being unawakened,
mhm,
because it's even more fun. Do you understand? I
mhm,
don't enjoy my food unless I'm hungry. Do you know what I
mhm,
mean? I
mhm.
won't give another example because that's a little bit too risque. But
Okay.
what I will say is the knowledge. I was hungry for the knowledge, and when I
Yeah.
had the knowledge, then it became me. It became, imbued in me, and I
Mhm,
wanted to share it with the world. But I realized, Sister Shanice, that there are so many books out there. There's so many different mediums that tell it. I wanted to do it in
mhm.
another way, where
Yeah.
people can sit and subconsciously get educated. You
Yeah.
understand? When you get a story on Beyonce, you've switched off. You understand? You're not thinking about Black history. And then when the next
Really.
card is about Kwame Ture, you're
Yeah.
like, oh, Kwame Ture. You know what I mean? Suddenly you're in a safe space where you want to get the answer right because of
Yeah.
the competitiveness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nubian Jak.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Okay. Here's an interesting question here. Um, you mentioned Malcolm X when he was in Berminstrong went around desegregating the housing in the area. Now, with
Yeah.
hindsight, was that such a good idea?
Okay, so it might not be the person's questioning it. So um, I don't know your algorithms for it being a good or bad idea. He came, he saw, he conquered, he educated, and all I know is after he left, the racist Tory guy who was implementing the policy of desegregation lost his seat, and the rest is history. So, you may not think it's a good idea, and you're entitled to your opinion. And I'm not saying you are saying that. I'm simply saying Malcolm came to do a job, and he did it with aplomb.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because at that time, America was very segregated, wasn't it? And I think the
Exactly.
civil rights movement was, to break that all up, the segregation and
Yes.
wanted integration and equality. But I think now, with hindsight, what people are realizing is that, you know, we were better off when we were segregated because we had money turning over in our own communities.
Yeah.
We owned the shops in our communities. We owned the businesses. We owned, you know, the cinemas, the laundrettes, the hotels. You know, these were thriving African
Yeah.
cities and African
Yeah.
communities.
Here's the thing, though, sis.
During
You have to understand,
segregation.
America's a wicked place, you know. You have to understand, America, the way they have impacted African lives in America, it's
Yes, are
another
not
level.
different, you know. Yes, are not
Yeah,
different. It's just they're good at hiding it.
yeah. No, that's true. That's true. That's very
You
true. I mean,
ever
you know,
know the
South
history
Africa.
of this place and
They,
what these people get up to?
I do,
You,
I do. I know
yeah,
they're, you know,
we know
especially
say them
here,
at the
and trust
same.
me, I
Yes.
know they're the same. But for me, America has a infrastructural, insidious wickedness.
Yeah. They've
Uh,
always
uh, uh,
been blatant about it, haven't they?
yeah,
In your face about it.
yeah.
And they
England,
don't, it's very
you don't.
subtle, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah.
England, they will. I think it's Mark Rigg. Is it Mark Rigg or whatever it is? Remember Mark Rigg? They go and kill him inside the police station. England
Mm.
will tell you Smiley Culture had his hand behind his back
Yeah.
and he stabbed himself and all that. That's what
Yeah.
England will do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But America will put his knee on your neck in front
Yeah.
of the whole world
Yeah.
and say
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
understand? For a
Yeah.
stick.
Yeah.
I don't want to go there.
Yeah.
They're all like that, as you said. But there's something quite. But you know why it is
Comes
though,
from all those
because
years in the I say in the Caucasus Mountains during the Ice Age.
it could be, sis. That's not my theory. That's yours, and that's
Yeah,
part
no,
of
that's
it.
mine.
Me, I'll tell
Yeah,
you
it's
what.
got to come.
My thing is,
Yeah.
my thing is, they come from a group of low class, low life people. They were the scum that was sent over to England, sent over to America, sent over to Australia. Do you understand? They were. When you talk about rednecks, these people, they actually ignorant. They actually. And you're right, it could come from the Caucasus thing, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not that. Trust me, it's not that, sis.
Mm-hmm.
Because you got other people who come from the same Caucasus mountain genes,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a light there. There's a human. You can always connect with people. Okay, my thing is, I believe you get black devils and white devils. I'm not into this war white lives matter. That's not I'm coming from, sis. I'm Nubian Jak. I'm going to tell you the truth, sis. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You get white devils, and you get uh, uh, um, some people you can reach, right? And the same people you can reach come from the same Caucasus. So how comes you can reach them? Because there is an intelligence. You understand? There is an intelligence. There's some people in America, their their culture is so they're so I don't really go too deep because I
Well,
know
you
this
just have to
recording.
think of the lynchings, don't you? It was a day
This is what I'm
out. They
saying to
would
you. That's
barbecue
exactly what I'm
somebody
talking
and call
about.
it come pick a nigger. That's where picnic
Sister,
comes from,
that's
and they
what
hang
I'm
around.
talking
And
about.
it's like,
You don't get that in England where you're getting postcards and all of that. You get the England doing their wicked darkness. But in America, there's another level of darkness, sis, that is unhuman. I don't relate. I'm like, what are you doing? What
it
are you
is.
doing? And so you will reap what you sow. You
That behavior, it's not normal. But you see, the English, they were doing it on the plantations out of the eyesight of.
I'm not sis, you keep misunderstanding me. I'm not saying they didn't do it. We're not at war here. I know they do it. I told you these people are worse. You understand? Look what they did at the Mau. I'm talking to Nubian Jak. I know the thing. I'm saying the Americans have institutionalized the thing where you're walking and they tell you don't come to this place after dark. If you come into my town after dark, you're a dead N word. I'm
Yeah,
like, what are
yeah,
you? And
yeah.
that's what they're doing. And I'm
Crazy.
thinking.
Yeah.
That's why you got this guy. That's why you got this guy. This sis. I didn't come on this platform to get into this energy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so we won't. Let's leave it
that's
there
not where I
because
want to go. I don't want to go into that.
you know that is a very dark side of our history. And when we talk about history, as painful as it is, you know, we have to recognize that our ancestors went through that. And
Yeah,
I like what you said. It's never going to happen again. And for you know, if we know of our history, it won't happen again. And if we do feel emotional about what happened, we will make sure it doesn't happen again. But this certainly isn't something that, you know, we shouldn't feel guilty for feeling really emotional about it. You just have
Yeah,
to talk to
yeah.
the Jews, for example, and mention the Holocaust, yeah, and they will feel exactly the same or worse because they feel in a privileged position to feel really awful about what happened to them. But it's almost as though sometimes I think we feel guilty for feeling
Not me.
what.
No, no, no,
Oh,
not me.
good.
'Cause
Oh,
I'm a
good.
man. I'm
Oh
a man
no.
that I,
Yeah,
yeah,
we.
not me. And I don't think you should feel guilty. But there's no point me, sis. It runs deep in my veins, sis. And I am capable of saying anything on this platform. You don't know me. I'm just trying to stop myself
You're
because I don't
holding
want to
it
go
down.
there. I don't need to go
Okay.
there because it evokes, a negative energy. So I'd rather deal about the positive and the plaque
Yes,
and the
or
book
the
and
good
the
things.
thing and the
So
muggling and
tell
everything.
us, have you got some new plaques lined up? Are there
Yeah,
some
so get it.
other
So let's go
great
to the last two
heroes and
plaques.
heroes
Perfect.
that
So let's go to the last two plaques on the presentation.
quickly move
So
into the last two plaques,
yeah,
family?
yeah. Let's go through the last two plaques.
Woo!
You can see some fantastic people there.
See, these are
But
names, like 30 years ago who we'd never heard of. And now, look,
yeah,
we can just go past it because, everyone knows Onawadaweki now. Yeah, because of these
exactly.
sorts of amazing works. Dark as How, I remember when he uh, blasted the BBC
Yes.
shortly before his death because,
Yeah.
his grandson had got stopped, I think, about 3 times in a week by the police. And it was
Yeah.
he was really getting to know what it was
Yeah.
like being a young black child in his
Yeah.
time.
Let me just stop at this very quickly. For
It's
those
fun,
who
yeah.
don't know, I think people do know about it. This is Henry VIII's Black Trumpeter. Henry VIII's Black Trumpeter. There he is on the Westminster scroll. I installed that one at Greenwich Palace, Grade 2 listed site. So we've got some plaques in some really interesting places, actually. I must say, I'm pretty
Yeah,
pleased with that. Yes, go ahead. Anyway, yeah.
yeah, getting
Mhm.
those plants in those places. Yeah,
Yes,
well
Queen
done to
Marie
you.
Louise. Yeah, Queen Marie
I've never
Louise.
heard
That's
of her.
Oh,
Really?
okay. She was the only queen of Haiti. She was married to
Oh,
Christophe, and
oh, really?
yes, and Christophe was a bad boy. Christophe never playing her. There was Desolaines, there was of course Toussaint, and there was Christophe, and my
Yeah.
man never play.
Don't
And
forget
again,
Bookman Dotty.
yeah, okay, but my daughter as well, of course.
Yeah,
But
man.
those three, those three were the kind of trinity, weren't they? Because
Yeah.
they ruled as because Christophe was president. I think he made himself president or something. Anyway, that
Oh.
was his thought. That was his
Is
wife,
this an artist
and
impression of her, or is this a real?
I think it is. This was given to me by a lady called Nicole from something university. I can't remember, but
Oh,
yeah, that's
yeah.
Queen Marie Louise, and that's in central London. Keep going. I'm gonna show you. So all of these are this year. Pecking Records, Sarah Parker Ramond, Baron Baker and Tutubag Williams, Jimi Hendrix. That was a big plaque. I did that a month ago, 2 months ago. But these keep going. These are, and the reason I put Jimmy plays the blues. People think Jimmy's doing rock. He's playing black music, man. He's just playing blues and turning it up on the amp, so it becomes really loud. Anyway, the next one is Edmona Lewis, very important person. She was the first black sculpture of international repute and amazing lady. But like I said, I'm going to go to the last two. Ciramond, that's the second plaque to Ciramond. But this one I did on Saturday. This is the Island Records.
Oh,
This was,
mm.
yeah, Island Records. This was just Saturday gone.
Oh,
And that was
wow.
a lot of fun to do. We had High Tension came out. You remember High Tension? High Tension. So what? Yeah, superstar. They came out and did some songs, and there was a lot of
Oh,
people there. Yeah, it was lovely. They just smiled. The weather was lovely,
yes.
and we put the plaque on Island Records building.
Mhm.
So there's that one, and this is the plaque I did yesterday to
Which one?
George. So now you're completely up to
Oh,
date. Plaque
okay.
to George Bridgetower. Do you know who he is, Sister Shanice?
No, I
Okay.
don't think I've heard of him.
Okay, George Bridgetower was Beethoven's best friend.
Oh,
He
okay.
is the best violinist to ever come from these shores.
Oh.
Not even close. He was a brother of mixed parentage. He was born
Mhm.
in Poland, it must be said, but he
Oh,
spent his last years in Peckham.
oh,
Peckham,
wow.
which is,
Pecknom. Yeah,
yes,
man.
yeah,
Big up
yeah,
Peckham.
yeah. Across the border, as it were, from us in Brixton. But we put the plaque to him yesterday, and
Oh.
Long may his memory be resurrected.
So
George
whereabout in
Bridgewater.
Peckham is it?
Peckham, it's called 12 Reedham Street, and it's Jack Jones' house. It's on an old complex because basically George Bridgewater lived at 8 Victory Gardens. His house got knocked down in 1970. It was
Oh,
rebuilt as an old people's home,
oh,
and
okay.
exactly on the site is where we put the plaque.
Oh,
George
wow, brilliant.
Bridgewater.
Wow,
Yeah,
Beethoven's best friend.
best friend. He even gave him his tuning fork. His tuning fork. They fell out over a woman, by the way. They fell
Oh,
out over
such
a
a
woman.
show.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's such a shame.
These things happen. Wow,
Yes,
what a phenomenal presentation. Awesome, awesome works, my brother. You have been just a trailblazer in so many different areas of life, walks of life. You've packed it in. You're a man who's been packing it in. You know,
thank
it
you.
would have been a huge success just to have an accomplishment, just to have done that Nubian Jak board game. But you
Yeah,
know, not only have you done that, look at all the awards that you've won as well, all the works that you've done. I just, you know, you're such an inspiration. I hope so many people have been inspired, you know, by your presentation here
thank you so
today.
much. Thank
Uh,
you so much. Thank you for
and
having me. Is there any more questions? I'd like to
let,
do one more too.
yeah,
If
can you see the questions
I
at
can't
all?
see
There
it,
was
no,
just
I can't see any questions.
I'll
No.
just randomly put in. What's this one? Africans in the UK, such as Harold Moody, Sam Coleridge, Taylor, David Pitt, Bernie Grant, Claudia Jones, and Mary Seacole. Yeah, what about them?
Yeah. What's the
Where's
question?
the rest of it? Yeah, we need some questions. Okay, someone's saying at Sheratev, at Afrijamo. I think they're having their own conversations here. What's this one? Thank you, Mr. K. What's this one? Are there any
Oh,
plaques for these two historical black scientists in UK name? Was that Theophilus E. Samuel and Scholes and James Africanus Horton? I'm embarrassed to
good
say I
question.
don't know them. Do you know who they
Yes,
are?
yeah, they were both in the army. At least I think in the British Medical Army, Medical Corps. Africanus is due to get one, but there's a few before him. I don't know an address for Theophilus Samuel Scholes,
So,
but
Mister, if you know an address for Theophilus,
yeah,
please drop that in the chat. Okay. So,
yeah.
what we got here? Brother Zach, you are an inspiration. Yes, I
I tell
know.
him I would absolutely love it if my name was spelled with a Z, but it's Jack without the C.
Oops. Wonderful show. Thank you. We thank you, Lily, as well for
Yeah,
keeping it locked. Absolutely.
beautiful.
We've got lots of claps. Wisdom Wednesday. Thank you, Go Travel. I like that one. Wisdom
Yeah.
Wednesday. Yes, indeed. What we got here? Oh, this is at the show test. Okay. Iceman inheritance. Yes, that explains it all. The nature, yes, that we was
Mm,
talking about. The innate nature of the non-Africans that we will try to
mm,
understand but can't understand. Read the book, Iceman
mm.
Inheritance. That'll tell you. Okay, well, family, what an interview it has been and what a journey. There were so many comments here. I just don't know where to stop. So, at Garwood True, I believe it starts here with Sishanis and the journey to self knowledge, where all these gods reside in you. Know thyself and to Ma'at be true. Okay,
Perfect. Thank
beautiful.
you.
Thank you
It's a
so
good
much.
point to end.
Yes,
That's a good note to end, I think.
good
Sister
note
Shanice,
to
thank you
endorse.
so much for inviting me. It's been a
We,
pleasure. You are a beautiful spirit, lovely. I've seen a couple of your shows, and the people may not know this, but the first time we spoke was literally 10 minutes before we went on air. So you are a lovely, inspirational sister, and thank you so much for having me on your show. Thank you, and love to all the people who gave us questions and endured my ad hoc presentation. Thank you
It
so much.
wasn't at all ad hoc. It was a wonderful presentation, very informative, very insightful. We learned so much today about so many different heroes and shearers of ours. So thank you so, so much one more time. Yes, let's give a round of applause to our brother Jack. Thank you, Jack. I want to thank everybody in the audience for joining us today for Wisdom Wednesday. Thank you for that. I think I'm going to coin that one, Go Travel Abroad. I'm going to coin that one, Wisdom Wednesday. I like it. And all being well, we will see you here next Wednesday. I've got some special guests lined up for you. Wow, wow, wow. We're going to be talking about relationships. Yes. Yeah, it's going to be absolutely phenomenal. And we've got a panel. Our brother, Dr. Kafusa, is going to be delivering a presentation on relationships. And then we've also got our brother, Mr. Freeman, who's going to be speaking about relationships, and my co-pilot on Galaxy Afiwi, Sister Just Sunray. Let me put up our Galaxy Afiwi link so that if you want to check us out on the Big G, Galaxy Afiwi Radio, that's where you can find us via Zeno. So family, all being well, next strong, we will see you here again for Wisdom Wednesday on the Sister Shanice Show. Please spread the word and share the video. Thanks again, Nubian Jak.
Thank you, sis.
Lots. Keep up the awesome works. More love, more strength, more power, more vudums. Sister Shanice out of here for now. One love.
Yeah. One love. Cool. Lovely.